We're recording in the Roosevelt National Forest in Colorado, and behind me are the Twin Sister Mountains. And on a good long day, you can hike up these mountains, and I hope to do that someday. I thought we'd do this. It's a beautiful scene behind us and give you guys a chance to take a look at some of the mountains that God created. I wanted to talk a little bit about Martha and Mary, an event in the Bible that I think is easily overlooked. A thought came to me as I was reading the event when Jesus visited Martha and Mary, who were sisters of Lazarus. This visit foredated a famous event in Scriptures where Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead after he was in the tomb 4 days. But that's another event. However, the thought that came to me was centered around the activities of Martha and Mary while Jesus was resting in their home. Martha was concerned with cleaning and preparing everything exactly right, just as you would knowing a guest was coming to see you. You would clean and tidy up the home, and then you may prepare some food or appetizers for your guest. This was the case with Martha. The issue is that she was still working while Jesus was already there. She was missing the parade in lieu of a messy confetti, so to speak. She wanted her home to be clean as if cleaning the outside of her cup. So Mary, on the other hand, she devoted all her attention to Jesus as he was teaching, speaking to them in their home. She was sitting at the feet of Jesus, the posture of a disciple. Sitting at the feet of a teacher meant that you were his student. You were soaking up all that he was teaching. So during this time, Martha, as she evaluated the situation, thought that Mary was being lazy by not helping her prepare the home and the food. She asked Jesus to get on to Mary for not helping her. But this backfired on Martha, so to speak, because Jesus, with a kind heart, replied to Martha, "Martha, Martha, have you ever tried getting someone's attention when they're busy, when they're deep at work or even in thought? Have you ever had to call out their name more than once just to get their attention?" This seems to be what is happening here with Jesus, calling Martha's name out 2 times, in a compassionate way, of course. The whole time Jesus has been visiting, he has been speaking and teaching, and Mary has been soaking it all up in full attention, while Martha, at best, may have heard 1 in 5 words. So Martha was being such a busybody. She was concerned with cleaning the outside of her cup and not filling the inside with life-giving water. Not filling the inside of her cup with the very words of Jesus Christ, who was giving a personal invitation, a personal one-on-one teaching to her. She thought that if she could only complete her task, maybe then she could sit down and listen to what Jesus had to say. Maybe after she prepared the food, cleaned the floor, took out the trash, dusted the table, then she could be ready to fill her cup. It wasn't working this way because Jesus was there now. He was already teaching and there was only so much time he had to do this. Mary understood what was so important that she devoted herself to listening to Jesus because he was only there for a short time. The messy house was secondary to the teachings of Jesus Christ. Mary was having her cup cleaned on the inside at that very moment, in that hour. Mary was cleaning the filth out of her heart and mind, replacing them with the holy teachings of Jesus and the gospel, the good news. Mary understood something. She knew that her heart and her mind needed to be cleaned out, and she knew that Jesus was the direct source and only source for changing her heart and her mind. She knew that it didn't matter at that hour what was on the outside because she was allowing Jesus to work on the inside. Mary knew that this transformation worked inside out, not from the outside in. Jesus has also taught this principle as he addressed the teachers, the Pharisees. They lived a life of what they thought was glorious on the outside with their long robes, shiny clothing, and clean appearance. However, on the inside, they were unclean, twisted, and confused. So Jesus lovingly corrects Martha. "Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has made the right choice, and it will not be taken away from her." Luke 10:41. If you listened to my last episode, I mentioned that love corrects, but evil destroys. In a loving relationship, there's correction when we are misguided. Martha had listened to the world tell her that her cup needed to be cleaned on the outside first. She grew up watching the teachers of her time looking perfect on the outside, but inwardly they were unclean. They allowed the world to guide them instead of listening at the feet of Jesus. They followed after the business, the political correct, the woke, the culture that told them that what they were doing was wrong, and if they wanted to fit in, they better start following their ways. The way of this world is destruction through separation, through division, through hate, Jesus was teaching and aware that Martha was not listening because she was so caught up in the world. She had so many worries that she couldn't even sit down when God was in the room. Martha was saved, but she was so distracted that she was not taking the time to sit down, to be still, to listen, and to allow Jesus to continue working in her heart, to continue growing her so that she could be the most effective disciple. Jesus tells Martha that the choice that Mary made was right, and it won't be taken away from her. This is directly referring to the fact that when you're saved, when you have asked Jesus to take over your messed up, busy world, and you've asked him to please forgive you for your mistakes, to please forgive me for following this messed up, sinful world, and to forgive me for the bad choices that I made in my life, and that you believe Jesus did come to earth as a man, as God, and he gave himself up to death for our sin so that we can be restored, so that we can open up that channel of communication with God and begin our relationship with him. That by doing this simple thing with meaning in your heart, Jesus will kindly come into your life and he will save you from the destruction that is coming when God will judge this world. He will teach you how to prepare for the evil in this world that wants to destroy you. It wants to enslave you to washing the outside. It wants to separate you, to put you against your neighbor, against one another, so that peace will be the farthest thing from you. Jesus is telling Martha that once you are a child of God, once you put your faith and trust in God, once you give up your life over to God, just by asking a meaning in your heart, God will never let you go, and no one. Nothing can take you out of God's hands. A walk with God means that you're ready and you're reading your Bible. You're praying and you're sitting quietly at the feet of Jesus so that you can learn how to protect yourself from the evil in this world and how you can recognize it a mile away. You will recognize when the seasons are changing and you'll be prepared for the daily fight, one day at a time. I urge you to slow down, to take your eyes off this flashy world, and to renew your walk, renew your time with Jesus. Unlearn this world as you learn more about Jesus. Until next time, God bless.